Wealth is not built by doing more, but by doing differently. It is built through structure, leverage, and clarity of thought. And once you begin to see that clearly, your decisions begin to change. There are ideas that become so deeply accepted over time that people stop questioning them entirely, not because they are accurate, but because they have been repeated often enough to feel like truth.
Welcome. I'm Kate, your moderator, and this is Bills, where we explore the deeper structures behind wealth, human behavior, and decision-making. If you're here, stay with us. These conversations are designed to challenge how you think about money and growth.
And if you're serious about understanding how what actually works, consider subscribing. And when it comes to money, those ideas are rarely examined deeply. They are inherited, repeated, and followed, often without understanding the structure behind them. And when it comes to money, those ideas are rarely examined deeply. They are inherited, repeated, and followed, often without understanding the structure behind them. The first of these beliefs is simple, almost unquestionable, that if you work hard enough, long enough, you will eventually become wealthy. It sounds reasonable, even moral, because effort should produce reward. But reality does not always follow that logic. If hard work alone created wealth, then the individuals exerting the most physical and mental effort would consistently be the wealthiest, and that is clearly not what we observe. A construction worker, for example, may exert more physical effort in a single day than a senior executive, yet their financial outcomes are vastly different. That difference is not explained by effort, it is explained by structure, by how value is created, positioned, and scaled within a system.
So what people are relying on is effort, but what actually determines outcome is structure. That's a very different way to look at it.
It is different, and it changes everything. Because once you understand structure, you stop asking how hard you can work and start asking how your effort is positioned. And that shift from effort to structure is where the possibility of wealth actually begins. Most people never make that shift because they are rewarded just enough to continue, but never enough to question the system they are operating within. And that is where the second belief quietly takes hold. The idea that if you cannot earn more, then the answer must be to save more. Saving feels responsible, it feels disciplined, and in many ways it is necessary. But necessity does not mean sufficiency, because saving, by its nature, is defensive. It protects what already exists, but it does not create anything new. And when people confuse protection with growth, they begin to believe they are moving forward, when in reality, they are simply standing still.
That's interesting, because saving is usually presented as progress. So what people feel as safety might actually be stagnation?
In many cases, yes, because money that does not move does not grow, and over time, it quietly loses value due to forces most people rarely consider. Inflation, for example, reduces purchasing power gradually, so even though the number appears stable, the real value is declining beneath the surface. It's a slow process, almost invisible, which is why it goes unnoticed for so long. Wealth, on the other hand, requires exposure to growth, to systems that can multiply value over time. Investments, businesses, and scalable ideas, these are not just financial tools. They are mechanisms designed for expansion. And without exposure to those mechanisms, growth remains limited, regardless of how disciplined someone may be. Discipline without direction can feel productive, but it rarely produces meaningful change. And that leads directly into the third belief, the one that feels the most secure, yet carries the greatest hidden risk. The belief in a single, stable income as the foundation of security. It feels predictable, controlled, reliable, and because of that, it is rarely questioned. It feels predictable, controlled, reliable, and because of that, it is rarely questioned. But stability built on a single point of failure is not stability at all. It is fragility disguised as control.
So what people trust as security is actually dependence on a single outcome?
Exactly. And the moment that outcome changes, everything connected to it begins to shift as well. Because when your income is tied to a single source, your time, your energy, and your security become dependent on something you do not fully control. And that dependency creates a hidden vulnerability, one that often remains invisible until something changes unexpectedly. A job can end, a market can shift, a company can restructure. And when that happens, the illusion of stability disappears instantly.
If you've been watching closely, then you already understand this isn't just a conversation. These are ideas that can genuinely reshape how you think about money, decisions, and the way you build your life. And we know many of you are watching, learning, applying these ideas quietly. But if this is helping you think better, build better, then support it. Subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and let us know what you're taking away.
What seemed reliable reveals itself as temporary, and what felt secure becomes uncertain. This is why true security is not built on one stream but on multiple independent flows of income. Each stream reduces dependence and increases resilience. Together, they create a structure that can withstand disruption. And once that structure is in place, uncertainty no longer feels like a threat. It becomes something you can navigate.
So instead of avoiding risk entirely, the goal is to
Build
systems that can absorb it.
because risk cannot be eliminated, but it can be distributed, managed, and reduced through structure. And that brings us to the final belief, the one that stops most people before they even begin. The belief that you need money to make money. It sounds logical. If you don't have capital, how can you possibly build anything meaningful? But that assumption overlooks something fundamental. Money is not the only form of leverage. Skills can be leveraged, knowledge can be leveraged, relationships can be leveraged, even tension can be leveraged. These forms of leverage allow value to be created even in the absence of financial capital. A single idea executed well can generate more value than years of passive saving. A single relationship can open opportunities that money alone could never access. And a single skill, applied consistently, can compound into something far more valuable over time.
So the real limitation isn't the absence of money, it's the absence of leverage and execution.
Exactly. And once that becomes clear, the excuse of money begins to lose its power. Because what remains is not a lack of resources, but a question of action. And that is where responsibility begins, when you can no longer attribute inaction to external limitations. Money is not the starting point, it is the result of value created, structured, and multiplied over time. It flows toward systems, toward ideas, and toward individuals who understand how to position themselves within those systems. And until that understanding is in place, people will continue waiting for something they were never meant to start with.
And we know many of you are watching, learning, applying these ideas quietly. But if this is helping you think better, build better, then support it. Subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and let us know what you're taking away.